All right, ladies and gentlemen, first, Proverbs 23, 6 and 10 says, "Don't eat bread of he that has an evil eye, neither desire his dainty meats. Remove not the old landmark or boundary, and enter into the fields of the fatherless." This saying is basically saying, don't accept any offers or to participate with someone who you see has an evil eye or has evil intentions. It's that simple. All right? So when they talk about don't cross the old landmark or don't cross the boundary and enter into the lands of the fatherless, they're talking about don't enter into places where wicked people are. They're considered the fatherless. Of course, the fatherless can also be orphans, and in that case also don't exploit, don't take advantage of the oppressed, the people without parents. Okay? Wonder Woman's all about that, and that's why this latest poster says justice begins with her. And even though her name is not explicitly stated here, the word wonder is there. You know this is a poster on Wonder Woman, right? Which is pretty awesome. It's kind of subliminal. Now Warner Brothers, this is Warner Brothers' site here. They're promoting Wonder Woman. Warner Brothers also specifically revealed some information here, which I thought was very interesting. So I'm going to hit you with it one time. Warner Brothers Pictures presents in association with Tencent Pictures, Wonder Pictures, Atlas Entertainment, Cruel and Unusual Production, Wonder Woman. So in other words, the production companies are Tencent Pictures, Wonder Pictures, Atlas Entertainment, also known as Cruel and Unusual Production. Okay, those are the major actually production companies that actually produced Wonder Woman. Just like how Marvel Studios produces Marvel films, but you have Fox or you have Disney or you have Sony, which are the distribution companies that actually distribute the product, the film, all around the world. This is what Warner Brothers serves at here, to distribute mostly. Now DC, on the other hand, DC Entertainment serves in this as well, so that's why DC's logo is here. You have Tencent, Wanda. I'm not seeing Atlas or Cruel and Unusual, but it's there. And Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers mainly, in this case, Warner Brothers Pictures is mainly the distribution company. Okay? And then you have DC Entertainment. Well, we know Jeff Johns is from DC, and he's involved, and he's also kind of coordinating the lore. He's giving, DC coordinates with these production companies, Tencent Pictures, Wanda Pictures, and Atlas Entertainment. So the actual production companies, the companies that were really responsible for the production of Wonder Woman, were Atlas, Tencent, and Wanda. Atlas is not up there because Zack Snyder really had very little to do with the production of this. Atlas and Cruel Unusual Production will actually be seen more in Justice League or Batman v Superman or Man of Steel. You would see them there. Okay, also Rat Pack. Alright, now having said that also, and giving you that understanding, I just want to talk about Kong. I didn't talk about Kong and Skull Island, so I just want to throw it in there. Kong and Skull Island is now the highest grossing King Kong movie of all time so far. Okay, the last King Kong movie that came out was in 2005, and that was formerly the highest grossing King Kong movie worldwide. Domestically, it's still higher grossing than Kong Skull Island, but internationally, Kong Skull Island is about 14 million to 15 million higher than King Kong. Okay? Now, why I talk about this is because Kong Skull Island was a success, and it also cost less in terms of production than King Kong. And also, while it was by critics rated less than King Kong, it was by the audience rated higher than King Kong. But of course, King Kong had a lot more people contributing to it. 33 million people actually contributed to King Kong's rating, whereas Kong Skull Island only had 45,000. So that is one of the points. But nonetheless, what made Kong Skull Island acceptable? Let's get into that real quick. Kong Skull Island borrowed things from the very successful classical King Kong 2005, which borrowed from King Kong 1933. So King Kong came out of his element. They captured him because of his love for a woman, and he ended up climbing up a building. He ended up dying in the end. Okay, that's the classical story, but there were certain elements of the story: bondship, trust. This woman trusted King Kong more than the people around them. They were adverse towards King Kong, And although it ended in a tragedy, it was one in which moviegoers actually enjoyed the movie at the time. I guess outside of that time, it also had a lot of good special effects as well. Skull Island, therefore, borrowed from the Bond, an Understanding King Kong, which they had. This was more than just a woman. It was a bunch of people who would kind of understand him, and they ended up being alive at the end of the movie. We also had the adverse people who were actually coming in to annihilate King Kong. King Kong didn't go to the city, wasn't captured. He remained in his place, but there were people trying to capture him and kill him, and then give evidence that that there was this kind of huge life out there. And also it had the element of trust and belief. And King Kong on this island was seen as a god, and people trusted in him. There was actually people who inhabited the island that trusted in him, and there were a lot of big animals on the island. And King Kong, the classical King Kong, the lady kind of formed a bond with him. She trusted him, and King Kong basically just wanted to do something that was good. He didn't really want to destroy places and stuff. He wasn't a terror. So they borrowed those elements from the classical King Kong story, and they incorporated them in King Kong Skull Island. Now, when I look at Wonder Woman, this version of Wonder Woman from the trailers I'm seeing is also incorporating some of the really good elements from Wonder Woman before. While Wonder Woman never hit the big screen, Wonder Woman had many iterations. The very first iteration that hit television, and this was before Super Friends, was in 1967. The lady who played the kind of dumb lady on Planet of the Apes, the very first Planet of the Apes, she played the first sort of small screen version of Wonder Woman, and it was kind of comical. It was supposed to be kind of comical, but it was not accepted. People kind of just rejected that straight up. They didn't like it, even though she was in the classical costume, etc. The story was kind of varied, and it was made to be kind of a comedy spoof, and that just backfired royally. The second iteration of Wonder Woman was depowered Wonder Woman, kind of more like a spy, espionage, working for the government. That backfired heavily. The third iteration of Wonder Woman was with Super Friends. And Super Friends Wonder Woman, people gulped it up, and then Linda Carter's version came after Super Friends in 1975. Actually, the other version that I just told you about, Kathleen Lee Crosby's version, came after Super Friends. Okay, so that's probably why people kind of protested it. Feminists, all kinds of things. They wanted her to get back her powers. They wanted her to have a suit. So because they had veered, Kathleen Lee Crosby's version had veered far away from the 1967 version. But then they came back and they had Linda Carter actually play Wonder Woman. And it was actually in a period piece in the TV series. It was actually in the 1940s, in World War II. 1942, I think they went back to. And so that's what's so interesting about this is people talk about Captain America being the first comic book period piece. Actually, it was Linda Carter who carved that way by doing this period piece of Wonder Woman. And Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman, this Wonder Woman, has borrowed from that successful formula and has gone back into a period piece as well with this Wonder Woman as well. Linda Carter's version was very successful. I know a number of things that we can take from that this particular Wonder Woman is taking. One, that version of Wonder Woman was one in which Linda Carter's Wonder Woman was kind of naive to the world at first, but yet she was clever enough to hide her identity somewhat. In this version of Wonder Woman, we see that she's naive to the world, but she's not clever enough to cover her identity, but Steve Trevor does it for her, okay? In the throwback Linda Carter television series, Steve Trevor didn't know she was Wonder Woman. In this one, Steve Trevor is about to know, or he will at some point in the movie know that she's Wonder Woman, okay? But he's not, initially he doesn't know that she's Wonder Woman like that. She doesn't know her capabilities, etc. But he knows where she comes from. But the formula that they use, you look at the throwback Wonder Woman, they see her fighting crime. She's very strong. She's able to take care and right wrongs where she sees something is unjust and wrong. You see that in Gal Gadot's character, where she has a strong sense, no, I must right this wrong. You get that same sort of vibe. So that the successful formula from Linda Carter's run, which was a very extensive run, it was from 1975 all the way up to the 1980s, I think mid 1980s, it could be 83, 84. It was really pretty successful long run. amongst the time when we had Bionic Woman and $6 Million Man, by the way, which to me were really sci-fi. They were advanced for their time. I really loved those films. But nonetheless, yeah, she did very well in that time. Similarly, Gal Gadot, she's borrowing off the actor, and also Patty Jenkins is borrowing off from this 1975 series. And we know she has had discussions with Linda Carter. Yet she's trying to bring forward also the grittiness that Zack Snyder has in his universe and tie it into Justice League in some ways. Now, the other thing that I thought was very interesting is that Patty Jenkins spoke about this movie borrowing from Man of Steel. Not Man of Steel, what am I saying? Superman 1978, which is around, again, the time of Linda Carter. Linda Carter actually blazed the trail. It's really ironic that Wonder Woman was the first successful superhero run, and then Superman came to the movies and was a very successful run. They saw the formula from Wonder Woman, and then they took that formula from television and they applied it to the movies, and they never tried to apply that formula to the big screen for Wonder Woman, which is kind of amazing to me, right? Linda Carter's Wonder Woman is actually the trailblazer that actually led to Superman 1978 being successful. Nobody ever talks about this, so I just decided I want to talk about it. So that the winning formula in Wonder Woman 1975 with Linda Carter, starring Linda Carter, the writers, and all the people who were involved in that was a very successful run it had for a number of years. Almost 10 years, 8 years, 10 years, something like that. It was a very successful run. And what's interesting is that Superman borrowed off of that. I think Richard Donner borrowed off of actually the Wonder Woman television series. I truly believe that, because there was comedy in there. There were the elements of surprise. There was the slightly goofiness in it, and because Wonder Woman was a period piece at first, and then CBS took it over and it was a current day piece, made it really, really interesting, right? And we see Themyscira on the side, and then we see the world of men on the other side. So the return of Wonder Woman was there and all of that. So what I'm saying is that I believe that Patty Jenkins is borrowing from those eras. She's taking the elements that make up those films, and you can see the analogies in her film. I also think that Patty Jenkins, in her statement, when she talks about her little son being still that appeal, that charm of Superman 1978, is actually translated to him. It's timeless. And she wants to do this very same thing in Wonder Woman. I think she's taking from those timeless attributes that were in 1978 with Superman, even 1975 with the first Wonder Woman, and she's bringing that charm, that appeal of it into this film. In spite of it being very bloody, very gory, World War I was one of the most gory wars, and it was the prequel to World War II. So she's taking all those elements. And what's very interesting is, how does Patty Jenkins take those elements and be able to translate it into taking Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman from hopeful and a hero, trying to establish what a hero is, to becoming disheartened at the end of the movie. Wonder Woman talked about it being a time of horrors for her. So I want to see how she does that, if that happens in this particular movie, or if it was going to happen in a sequel. I don't know. And the other thing that's very interesting is, will they go from a period piece like CBS did? They took the ABC 1940s World War II period piece, and then they moved into the present day. Will the sequel of Wonder Woman be in the present day? So that's the whole question I would like to know, if they're following that formula. I think they're going to follow it to some degree. And I think Patty Jenkins is taking the best from Superman 1978, from Wonder Woman 1979 to 1980s run, and I think she's going to incorporate those things into Wonder Woman. I think she's going to be borrowing from Indiana Jones a bit and The Last Crusade. I think she has to mix this adventure, the charm, the naivety, and the humor into this very, very horrific time in history, wartime. And I think she's looking to humanize Wonder Woman, because we heard Gal Gadot talk about she's not perfect and she's learning, and it almost feels like a Man of Steel vibe, except instead of having the finesse of a man doing it, where sometimes people are, it's too abrasive. I think they're using the finesse of a woman telling the story as a director to actually carry the story along. So if that's the case, then we're really in for a treat, because women have a certain finesse to make the story really push through and make people accept things which are not easily digestible. So I'm hoping that Patty Jenkins can pull that off, because I know the story has to end in some sort of tragedy. It's going to be saddish at the end. I want to know how Patty Jenkins carries you through and gets you roped into the story, so that at the end of the story you really feel something for the main antagonist. So that's basically what I have to say about Wonder Woman. I hope you guys enjoy this. Remember, you can always donate to my channel. Message me and I'll tell you how you can donate to my channel. On that note, you guys have a great one.